Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 93. My name is Evan Lewis. I am, of course, joined by Leo Andri.
Hey.
And Joe Latovsky.
Hello.
And before we get into anything else, unless I'm mistaken, this is our first episode, our first real episode since Extra Life. Is that correct, or am I losing my mind?
That is correct.
Well, in that case, we should talk quickly about how that all went. I think it went swimmingly. I think everyone on our team did a magnificent job. Big thank yous to everyone who donated. We got over 5 times our goal, and that was amazing to see. And yeah, it all went in retrospect, it went very smoothly. It felt a little chaotic, at least on my end, but I was still very happy with how it turned out. And yeah, I am looking forward to the next one. Personally, for me, I want to give a huge thank you to all the patrons because they made it possible for us to be able to do that. So thank you so much. And if you guys want to say anything, go right ahead. If not, we'll move on.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I would also thank all the patrons for helping us do this. I was impressed at how much money we raised. It was what, 500 something?
525, I think.
Which
something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. We're not Rooster Teeth. We're not raising $1 million through Extra Life, but we're helping. Feels good. If you missed it, all of the recordings from Extra Life are on our YouTube page. If you want to sit and watch through the entirety of our 24-hour stream. It's broken down into chunks, though, so you can pick and choose.
Nope, it's a 24-hour long video. Enjoy.
Yeah, it was really great. And if you missed it, we had a little bit of everything, because we started off with Leo with X-Wing and Legion, and then we jumped to me with some Destiny, but hey, it was fun. And then what comes after that? There was random Star Wars board games with Joe, and we jumped back to some painting, several hours worth of painting, and
because you forgot Clumsy and Random. I can't decide what my favorite thing of the stream was, because Clumsy and Random was fantastic. And
that was, I think, my favorite Clumsy and Random session of them all.
Well, we got in 2 sessions.
But the second one, where we were on Tari.
Tari.
Yeah, and those Clumsy and Random are up there. And the painting contest I had a lot of fun with, too.
Yes, definitely.
I had a lot of fun doing the painting contest. I don't know how exciting that one actually turned out to be to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really heard any feedback from people on that one. I'd be curious to hear what other people thought of that, because it was just sort of us painting for like 4 hours and then just kind of bullshitting. So I don't know how exciting that was to watch.
I don't know. I think that's pretty great sometimes. It's very chill. You can just have it on in the background. You can not pay attention to it, and then when we, call times over, you can just go back and see our results for what they were. And yeah, I think it's a nice chill experience for people. And then, of course, we finished off the night with some Battlefront and then some Super Star Wars. So
that game.
Our rage kept us alive through those 2 sessions, I think.
It's a good thing I was like half dead from like sleep deprivation at that point, because otherwise there would have. I think I kept it pretty calm. Well, I kind of had to, because everyone else, including my children, were asleep, so I couldn't express myself quite the way I wanted to. Maybe sometime when I'm home alone, I will record an attempt number 2 at that game, and then people can see the real way I play video games.
I think that's the real way everyone played that game. We were just too young when it came out to be able to string vulgarities together the way that a mature adult can.
I don't know. I mean, I think I get so angry that I don't really do that great of a job stringing them together. I just sort of spout out random things so they may not even make sense. I'd give you an example, but all anyone would hear is a string of beeps anyways. So
You're like the dad from Christmas Story. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. But yeah, you can go check that
Yeah,
out.
I'm like a less racist version of him.
You didn't have any what's the phrase for that? Video game induced racism or something like that some YouTubers have some issues with.
What is this like? Is this like in the same category of disease as affluenza? Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
I file that under B for bullshit.
Yep, pretty much. And of course, in all of that, once again, thank you to patrons. We appreciate everything you do for us, allowing us to do a 24-hour charity stream to help the children. So you help make it happen. We appreciate you. And if people want to know where they can find out how to help us do more things like that in the future, they can do so over at patreon.com/thejodocast. And you can find links to that and all of our other social media outlets over at jodocast.com, including our Discord server. And you should go there. You don't have to be a patron. Come hang out with us. Come chat with us. We'll tell you everything you ever wanted to know, but we're afraid to ask.
I mean, unless you're like a tool, then don't come hang out with us.
Well, then we'll tell you that you're a tool because you were afraid to ask. Leo does not sugarcoat anything. Even sugar. He doesn't even sugarcoat sugar.
Why would you need to sugarcoat sugar?
I don't know.
It's literally sugar.
To not sugarcoat. That's like the least sugarcoatable thing.
I don't know. Candy companies or like cereal, it's candy-coated candy. That's all that it is.
I mean, really, I guess if you think about it, like that's like what a jawbreaker is, because it's a layer after layer after layer. So it's like sugar that's been sugar-coated multiple times, and I'm talking like the big jawbreakers. The ones that are like 4 inches in diameter,
and they look like the ball containing the power gem from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Great.
Like that.
Perfect.
Infinity Stone, not Power Gem.
No, it's the Power Stone, isn't it? Of the Infinity Stones, it is the Power Stone.
Yeah. You said gem. Like some kind of person who reads the comics or something.
All right. Well, okay. Having said all that, let's move on, gentlemen. What have we been playing? Joe, what have you been playing?
Besides the stuff we played at Extra Life, gotten in some Legion. There's only 1 week left of our league, and there are currently 3 players who are 4-1. So it's going to be a wild run to the first place.
Why aren't you 5-0?
One of our patrons, Dan, he beat me on it was a really fun game. It was Long March for Deployment, Breakthrough. And he had, all these speeder bikes and DLT troopers and ATST, so I figured there's no way I can get anybody across the board without getting shredded. So I just dug in and figured if I can just keep him from getting anybody into my deployment zone, maybe I'll win on kill points. But turns out the ATST was able to walk in, and 2 groups of stormtroopers, which I killed down, but by the last round, there were 2 Stormtrooper minis standing in as far of the corner as you could possibly get on the map. And my people, I had a whole bunch of them in there, and they just couldn't get close enough to shoot them. And the ones who did had bad dice, and it was really funny. Because I killed so many of his guys, but
I wonder if you could, if on breakthrough, if you could just stop them from getting through, if you just played like 3 saboteur squads and just threw mines everywhere.
Well, I did have some mine saboteurs, and the environment condition was rapid reinforcement, so I'm like, okay, these guys might be fun to try and drop behind enemy lines, especially here. Because I'm like, okay, if he's going to push all the way down to me, then I can just airdrop these guys into the deployment zone. And if my plan of not letting him in my deployment zone works, then there I win, because I have one guy in theirs. But he also airdropped some stormtroopers and then diverted some guys back to wipe them out. It took them a long time to get killed, but eventually they died. So he beat me with that one.
See, I'm not a fan of actually setting aside any units during rapid reinforcements.
I'm not either.
I would, most of the time,
kind of
I would
trap.
rather have those 2 units the whole game.
Yeah, it seemed okay in this situation, because I'm like, maybe, I mean, I don't have to, like, run across the map to do the objective, and for the first round, we're not going to be fighting anyways, maybe even the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, on Longest March, it does have situations where setting aside has merit, but the other thing is like, what if Dan had kept his 2 stormtrooper squads with the DLTs? I mean, they probably would have been able to shoot at you, 4 more shots off with those DLTs in those first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I did. I did most of the killing in that one, because my guys were just kind of dug in, shooting everything that came close, but it wasn't enough.
Leo.
I also played some X-Wing.
Oh, not done yet. Oh, some X-Wing. Hooray! Did you win?
I'm not going to tell. That's the part I don't like about making videos. I like everything about making videos, except when I make a video and I'm like, I actually got to play X-Wing with this one squad I was interested in, and then it's like, but I don't feel like telling anybody how it actually went, because I don't want to ruin the video for them.
Very good.
Don't
Very
want to
good.
spoil it. So that'll be up, I don't know, it might be a couple weeks.
Eventually.
It'll happen.
It'll be up eventually.
Soon. Blizzard soon. Okay, Leo.
I'm trying to think if I've actually played anything since Extra Life. No, I don't think so. Because I had the buy in my X-Wing League.
Mm-hmm.
And then this weekend will be the next league here. Oh, shit, I'm not going to be able to go to that because I got to work this weekend.
What? That's garbage.
Yeah, it is garbage.
Quit your job.
Whatever. We have 2 weeks between each league session, so that gives people plenty of time to make up games. Yeah, well, we started doing it first with the Legion League, and it's worked out pretty well. I think it's we've had a few people who wouldn't normally participate take place or play. Even like even the X-Wing League, like we have a guy that drives in from about like an hour out of town to play because there's nobody in his town really that plays X-Wing. But if he had to drive in more often than every couple weeks, I don't think he would be participating. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, and I haven't played any Destiny. Like they had a draft for Across the Galaxy at our store here this past weekend, but I was out deer hunting, so I didn't get to go to that.
That's your own fault.
Yeah, that is my own fault, but you know, gotta feed the family.
You gotta collect all that deer meat before winter hits. Oh wait, it probably hit like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, winter was in full. It was below zero for some of on Saturday morning when I was out hunting. It was plenty chilly and snowed all weekend long. So,
oh my goodness.
Here I am sleeping with the window open.
I could sleep with the window open too if I wanted.
Yeah.
You mean if wife let you?
Yeah, see how that goes.
She probably wouldn't mind. She always gets warm at night when she sleeps.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
So yes, I don't think I've actually, since Extra Life, I don't think I've actually had time to play anything, unfortunately.
Have you been doing
Other
any
than
work?
Breath of the Wild, I don't think
Ew.
that counts.
Painting done?
I'm getting close. I've got all 4 divine beasts now.
I don't.
Beaten, and so I could go fight Ganon anytime I want, but
If you wanted to.
I wanna get the other fairy fountains,
Mm-hmm.
the great fairies, so I can upgrade some of my armor a little bit more, and then I will go fight Ganon.
I want to put a moratorium on non-Star Wars game talk for the time being. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and talk about Red Dead for...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, nobody cares about
This could
Red
just be
Dead.
the Star Wars podcast where we talk about all the non-Star Wars things that we're playing. That'll be the title of this episode, Not Star Wars.
Have you got any painting done since Extra Life?
No.
Well, as for me, I can't remember if I mentioned this since our last discussion. I may have mentioned it on the Extra Life stream. I do not remember. Much of our conversations during that time period have all kind of faded into memory, or lack thereof. But I did play a game of Legion against myself, and the other guy. So I'm getting some of the basics down, and I was asking questions today in Discord that I'm sure looked like really stupid ass questions, but I mean just little things, because like I'm only playing with the core set of like one single core, so I've only got like 2 squads of troopers on each side, and then 1 ATRT, 1 pair of speeders, and then Luke and Vader. So some of the mechanics make sense in a larger context, but not in such a small context. Like we were talking about the picking a random deployment token after you've issued orders. Like I didn't really get that.
It's not a big deal when you only have a core set.
Exactly. So that's been interesting, just getting more into it and finally figuring out how everything works.
Is there a community for that game where you live?
That is an excellent question, because I'm not aware that there's one in Indy. There certainly may be, but I'm not aware of it. I am definitely aware of the one in Muncie, because of course they play everything.
Wasn't Muncie the town, like, in Parks and Rec that was always like, why would you go there?
Very likely, actually.
Or was it Gary? I don't know. People make fun of Gary, Indiana, all the time.
Oh yes. If anyone from the region is listening, apologies, but you know, come on, you know. When you're driving up I-65 and suddenly the sky turns from a bright blue to a hazy yellow, you know you've reached Gary.
Sounds
It's
charming.
not even a town. It's just a guy named Gary who is population 1.
Yep, he just runs the gas station.
He harumphs at everyone.
Like, going to Chicago, huh? Have fun. Hope you enjoy the experience.
Which, you know,
He got to, like, increasingly positive as that bit went on. Unless he was being sarcastic.
Oh, he was totally being sarcastic, but all the visitors think he's being sincere.
He didn't get... He hasn't mastered sarcasm.
yeah,
I
It's
should
too
love it if
couched
you
in-
just stayed at my gas station for another 5 hours. Okay.
you know, speaking of Chicago, I mean, so this is
A tangent central
Yeah.
episode.
kind of, I mean, I guess I don't know how far away Schaumburg, Illinois is from Chicago.
Mm-hmm. It's not
But-
terribly far.
But Schaumburg is where Adepticon is, and apparently, for whatever reason, Fantasy Flight has moved both the Imperial Assault and the Armada World Championships to be at Adepticon
What
this
about
March.
Destiny? Isn't Destiny there too?
That's a regional?
No,
No, am I wrong?
Or for Destiny, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Destiny's just got like a galactic qualifier, or
which
whatever
is
they're called.
Regional, essentially.
I think they're almost more like system open for
Okay.
X-Wing type stuff,
But
kind of.
Actually,
it's
I
very
might be.
weird and concerning to me that Worlds for Armada and Imperial Assault are at Adepticon.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, unless they've said something and I missed it, Fantasy Flight Organized Play still hasn't, like, confirmed or denied anything. People only know about this right now because Adepticon put out their event schedule yesterday here, and then people were like, oh, there is Armada World Championships and Imperial Assault World Championships on the schedule. Well, that's interesting.
I wonder if this is going to be a one-time thing where after this, the Imperial Assault and Armada will fall in line with the rest of the games, Legion, Destiny, and X-Wing, where they don't have that sort of store championship regionals worlds track, and they've got silly names that qualify you for
That
different
nobody
silly
can
events.
remember.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
except that. Well, and you could be correct because that's going to be in what, April of 2019, and
I think it's in March.
yeah, I think it's
Okay,
Or
so
that's when
it's-
it was. That's when it was last year, anyway.
early spring then. But then just today they have 3 articles here about regional championships for IA, Destiny, and Armada. So at least for the time being, they're still focused on the traditional FFG championship track.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's funny that they put out stuff about all the like regional championship awards today, but no comment at all about World's Championships being moved to Adepticon.
Are we surprised? I'm not.
I'm like I need to go to a regionals from Imperial Assault, which once again there isn't one in the state of Arizona, which is
For Imperial Assault.
for Imperial Assault, which is
Yeah.
weird because there's a really, as far as I can tell, big healthy community up in Phoenix. So I'm probably gonna have to
Yeah, I
drive
wonder
to
what's up because,
Albuquerque
like-
or fly to Denver again, like I did last year, and be like, "Hey, I'm here to visit my brother. Take me to the game store, please."
Because I believe that I think like we've got one here in Fargo, and like
When is it?
Like-
Is it in December? So I'm gonna be there in December.
I'd have to check on the dates, but yeah,
Oh,
but
man,
it's
give
like
them this-
hardly anybody plays here, so it's
If you got
I don't
them
know.
to switch that to December,
yeah, it's December 8th.
later in December, that would be sweet.
Oh well, you're gonna have to call up Rich and talk to him about that one.
I could change my vacation to earlier in the month. probably
Well,
not a good idea.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think we may not be, but I think other people are disgruntled towards FFG for not having a regional or whatever in their area. But would it not be fair to say that they are probably positioning those regionals based on report backs from stores based on activity? So would it not fall more on the stores and maybe even more so on...
I don't see how it can be. I mean, because like here in Fargo, I think the last time there was any kind, I think, there was a store championship at one of the stores for Imperial Assaults, and like 4 people came to it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or I forget. I'd have to ask like Kurt exactly what the attendance was, but I know it wasn't that great. And I mean, there's no like regular events for Imperial Assaults around here or anything like that. So what they're basing, what criteria they're using, I don't know. Is there just no stores in the area that are in Arizona that are applying, or what? I don't know.
I don't know why they wouldn't be applying, because we went up there for a store championship in the summer, whenever those were, and I think there were a couple of them doing store championships, and when we went to, everyone was very friendly, and they were excited about having this event, and did not seem like the kind of environment where the stores are not on top of those kind of things.
What size are the stores? Because I think there's technically, for regionals, I think there is some kind of criteria where you need to have space for X amount of players.
That could be.
So, I mean, maybe it's just all the stores are too small? I don't know.
It seems unlikely, too, although I'm not super familiar with the stores there.
So it's just hard to come to any solid conclusion as to whether it's FFG picking locations to have for regionals that make little sense, or if it's just a lack of feedback from those areas. Because it sounds like there's certainly plenty of activity in certain spots and a severe lack of activity in others, but then they're getting flipped around for more substantial official events. So I guess the question is, who knows?
Yeah, it's just weird.
It is weird. It's terribly weird. And I mean, I've certainly made it known before my frustration with how FFG is choosing to approach some of these audience-focused events, I guess you'd call it, whether it's an actual game event or a media news event. It boggles the mind sometimes, quite honestly. And I know that even if we ask them what's going on, we're not gonna probably get an answer, sadly. But that'll be enough complaining from me on how FFG does their PR for the moment. We'll get to our topic of the day. And I just really have developed some strong feelings about miniatures recently. Having not been a miniatures person for most of my gaming years, and now recently having gone full blast into multiple games to sort of get a feel for all of them and get practice.
I was going to say, because even during... Even X-Wing, like you bought like core set in Wave 1, but never really got into it, right?
Yes, and that's a big item that I want to talk about, is how they approached X-Wing when it first released in, 2012. So this has been a big thought exercise, or not really exercise, but just an internal discussion with myself and trying to figure out how they did this. Because in 2012, when they released X-Wing, they came out with the core set, which as of today is relatively unchanged, but it was two models for one side and one model for another side. And it was $45, and it gave you all the components you needed to play. So for a non-miniatures person, as I was at the time, it looked like it had everything you need to start playing. Looking at it now, and I mean, it was even evident to me then, because other people mentioned it also, you were not going to spend any time at all being content with that starter set. I would be even remiss to call it a starter set. It's more of a box of components.
Well, and they
they
don't call it a starter set either. It's a core set.
Sure, but I would non-miniatures people, again, as I was at the time, would look at that and say, "Oh, I'm going to get that, and I can play around with it." And you don't. There's really no playability, not even replayability, like with a core set, like even Imperial Assault or Legion or Rune Wars or any of the GW starters, even the lowliest of Games Workshop starter boxes, gives you more than the X-Wing core set.
I guess I'm going to take umbrage with that.
Sure.
I would say that it's I mean, it's really no different than, say, like the Legion one. I mean, because you named that one. I mean, frankly, playing a game of a Legion it's just straight out of the box is, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can play a full game, but it doesn't. Some of the mechanics just don't quite gel and work when you're only playing with that few units, I think. And it's the same way with X-Wing. I mean, yeah, you can play it, but it's frankly, it's not that fun to play with only one or two ships on the board.
I think it's certainly more interesting.
And yet there is lists out there, where people sometimes only have 2 or 3 ships in their squad. So I don't know. I mean, it's all relative.
I guess it's relative.
I feel like
it's certainly
you're sort of suggesting that it's misleading, right? That's what you're saying. Oh boy, I got a new game. Can't wait to go home and play it. And then you're like, oh wait, this isn't really a complete experience.
See,
and I think
yes.
It's kind of. I mean, if you're picking it up, you see all the other stuff on the shelf too.
But to someone who doesn't know is what I'm talking about, because I would have before looked at it and said, "This is great. I'm going to get one of these, try it out, and see how I like it." And there is none of that with X-Wing, and they haven't changed the formula in 6 years. And I wonder why.
It's not just X-Wing. It's all Fantasy Flight games. They all
like
do that.
Miniature games. Like, do you want to?
I'm not even talking about just miniature games. I'm talking about all Fantasy Flight games. Do that though? I mean, you go buy a core set of any of their LCGs, and you do not get a full experience out of that box.
Okay,
you have to buy another core
for
set.
Competitive. You have to.
No, even okay.
I didn't have to. I never bought a second.
You can't even really build full decks for some stuff when you get just a single core set. Sometimes.
Depends on. Okay, are you thinking of like Game of Thrones second edition?
Okay, it depends on what you... Okay, say like okay, I'm thinking like, okay, Game of Thrones. If you combined houses, you can build full decks. If you want to say like, okay, I want to have decks for each of my houses, you can't do that with just a core set. Unless you play with tiny half-size decks.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, would you rather it... Okay, you can have it as it is. You drop $40, and then you can augment that however you like with expansions. Or would you rather the core set came with like 5 TIE fighters and 3 X-Wings and, cost $70? It shoehorns you in more and may give you stuff you don't want, but has a more complete play experience.
Yes, I'm getting a little tongue-tied because I have so many thoughts going on here. With Legion, I feel like they give you enough components to at least have a feel for what a whole game could be like. So, and that costs on Amazon like $70. MSRP is $90 or $100. I can't remember which it is because I look at the Amazon prices so much. Okay, so $100 give or take. $100 minus 10. Some GW starters are $80 up to $120. Anywhere in that range, if they gave me all the components and 2 or 3 X-Wings and 4 or 5 TIEs, however you want to do it, any combination therein, anything to, and pile on upgrades so that I can come close to maybe having a very non-competitive list, I would rather pay 60, 80, 100, marked down to 60, 70 on Amazon. I would pay more for something like that than 40, 45 for a core set that I immediately have to supplement, that I can get no play experience out of.
So just buy 2 core sets.
Right. And I did consider that also. Like, that's basically it. That's basically the answer to that request. Except that, to the uninitiated, to people who want to taste, it's easier to see yourself buying like a big box for 60, 80, somewhere in there, and spend that like it's a whole game. It's a whole game. Relatively speaking, it's a whole game. It's a whole game for kitchen table play. It's not a whole game for competitive play. And I would pay that.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it's easier to pay that once than pay 40 twice.
I think it was pretty clear that coming out the gate, though, they were making the game to try and foster some kind of a competitive scene.
I get that.
So, I guess I could say you weren't their target market,
But I think they were selling it to people as, hey, this is an alternative to traditional miniatures game. It's pre-painted. Check it out. You don't have to do any of that extra work. You can just buy in here and start playing.
Well, and that's all true.
It is all true, but I'm saying it's targeted towards a non-hardcore audience. Like most of the Star Wars products, they are like easy entry versions of other games that are traditionally more hardcore. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm just really, really surprised that with second edition of X-Wing, they didn't change the formula at all. That's what shocks me.
I guess
I feel like the formula works.
It never even occurred to me to do it a different way. I don't know.
They certainly had success with it. And This is the third version of the core set that has come out, and it has not really changed in form or function at all.
So
and that just surprises
means
me.
It works well.
I guess it does. I'm just surprised that they didn't change it up to a higher price point for getting started, like if they had, let me pitch this at you really quick. What if they had multiple tiers of entry, and they sort of do at this point, kind of, sort of, but instead of making you buy a core and an update pack, you know what I'm talking about? Conversion kit. So a core and a conversion together for less than the cost of buying them separately. Of course, that's not a thing that they would do if they can get all of us to spend close to $100 for a core and a conversion kit. But
of course not. They know they have a captive market pretty much with the 2.0 conversion.
Yes, they absolutely do have a captive market.
I mean, I personally, I think the conversion kits should have had like the new maneuver templates and stuff in there. I think making you buy a core set just to essentially get those maneuver templates was kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, granted, someone could go out and get acrylic ones, you know, or whatever, but you know, I thought that was kind of a move on their part.
And I did applaud the conversion kits when they were announced, and the price point for what you get in there, I guess, is not bad. I haven't purchased any yet because whenever I think about it, I'm like, but then I have to buy two because if I want to play against people, I'm going to want it for all of my Imperials and all of my Rebels because I'm going to want to just bring people over to play because I don't have anyone else in my group that plays on any sort of regular basis, if at all. And I have to drive out and find people who are probably going to be way, way more competitive focused than I am. And I just want to play, learn it again, try to have fun with it before even thinking about being competitive. So for myself, I'd have to buy a core set, a Rebel conversion, and an Imperial conversion. And by that point, I'm looking at either the cost of a new Nintendo 3DS or 2DS XL, or however many other games that I could be buying, or more Legion instead.
For you, it's an extra situation because you have such few ships that 90% of everything you're getting in those two conversion kits you're not using. They just get tossed in a box, and you know. I believe there are some sites out there where people like some of like the there's a FFG trade subreddit, and so they might be doing it on there. But I know I've heard of some other people who have been like selling or trading cards and dials from their conversion kits that they're not using.
Yeah, I was...
And for someone with as small of a collection as you have, that actually might be a better route to go than buying a full kit.
Or if you have so few stuff, you can just forget about them and just start over. I was thinking about, because I haven't wanted to buy an Imperial conversion kit because I'm trying to be more frugal with 2.0. I was like, I really want to put my 6 TIE bombers that I have sitting around to use. So I was going to buy just the TIE bomber conversion parts, but couldn't. It's I guess cheaper if I just bought that and not a whole conversion kit, because it's only I don't remember how much they were selling them for, but if I look at price per ship versus the whole conversion kit, it was like outrageous. I'm like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, I think all of that is to say, Cat, not right now. Get down. Get down, Kitty.
That's what it's to say, Cat, not right now.
Damn it, Kitty. Don't. Not now.
I have opinions too.
Thanks, Kitty. Thanks for joining. All of that is to say that I really like how they've done Legion. Their packaging and their approach. I feel like the Legion core set.
Yes, their packaging. No clamshells.
Oh yeah, good job.
Wait, what? Say it again, over?
I said no clamshells.
No, I got that. Now it's an extra edit for me. Thanks.
Oh,
I want you to elaborate.
Oh, I just really hate the clamshell packaging.
Yeah, it's so much
X-Wing.
easier to open Legion expansions than. Well, I think Imperial
Taking
Assault
a knife
now is
to
the
it?
worst because they're just full on clamshell. At least X-Wing now is like a hybrid of clamshell and cardboard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that was it was the same thing with. I mean, even the LCG.
Well,
After
yeah, they
what?
switched.
After was it after Hoth or was it after the
Well, the LCG was never
the
a
Rogue
problem.
Squadron cycle? They stopped doing the cardboard boxes and they put those in clamshells too.
Yeah, it
Those
started
ones
with
were in
X-Wing.
the
Rogue Squadron.
LCG packaging. It wasn't like a sealed system that you
Yeah,
just had to
that's just a
slice
piece
some
of tape.
and it opened up.
Exactly.
It was fine.
You didn't have to like jab into it like you're gonna gut a man in prison to get
And
at
you
your
gotta
damn
like
miniature.
be like, okay, I gotta make sure I'm cutting in the right place because I don't want to cut any of the cards inside.
You didn't have to shiv it very carefully.
Yeah, you just needed to go shloop, cut the tape, and we're in.
You feel like a surgeon when you're done with that. But yes, so Legion, even though I know the core is not a complete game experience. It's definitely not. But it feels like I could give that to someone and they could play a game. Like you have a game that you can play. It's not a whole experience, it's not competitive, but it feels like a whole game, and it feels like the investment that I have to make in continuing to play the game, and I could be wrong, but it feels easier to manage than X-Wing, and not just because they've mitigated having to buy every single ship to get all the different cards.
That's the
that
same
aside,
thing in X-Wing 2.0.
Right, but I'm just saying like the value of your dollar is better in Legion than X-Wing.
I'm trying to think because I obviously I've only bought for a 2.0 the core set, the Rebel conversion kit, and Y-Wing, which actually I won that, so I've only bought the core set and the conversion kit for X-Wing 2.0, which I'm sure maths out to way less money than Legion, but I probably have just as many options. Now, if I didn't have all this old stuff, I wonder how different that would be.
You mean if you were just buying 2.0 stuff? Fresh?
Right, if I never
fresh-faced?
had 1.0 stuff to repurpose. But, I feel like they're just... Because, I mean, X-Wing is so much more... X-Wing's so much easier to get non-gamers interested in. Even if Legion is trying to, it's a lot harder to sit somebody down and teach them Legion in 5 minutes. You can do that with X-Wing, and people love it because it's so fun flying little ships around. And so if the average nobody who's going to get into X-Wing, it's easier to drop $40 than it is to drop $90 if you're not usually into minis games. Even if
they should call it the demo set. There, would that make you happier, Evan? If it was called the demo.
For
set?
which one? For Legion?
For X-Wing.
I don't think even then. No, I think that's worse.
I mean, the people you are concerned about, the people who really don't know anything, it's much more likely that they'll want to drop $40 and then $90. It's an easier commitment initially.
It is, but for what happened with me, like Leo pointed out, was that I got that core set at Gen Con, and I got one for him, and we tried to play with just one set, and it was like, no, get out the second box. So we got out the second box immediately, and then I didn't purchase anything after that because it was just such a, I don't know, it didn't get me because I was not willing to buy everything right out of the gate, and the core set by itself, I don't think, for me, back then, did not do a good job of compelling me to go buy more.
See,
I was hooked when I first
I don't know.
played
I mean, it did the opposite for me, I guess. I mean, I clearly, because I went home after playing it at your place and spent way too much money on it. So, it's why now,
I think you're the
it's why
outlier.
I have like a dozen TIE fighters.
Hey, you can use some of those for Legion trash in your battleground.
Yeah, but they're too tiny. What are they, like little remote control TIE fighters?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
They're
was,
kids' radio control TIE fighters.
There were some hobbyists who lived where this battle is now taking place, and their RC TIE fighters got left behind.
Exactly.
If people are like, why? You have to explain the lore of the location before you play the game. You can make a little hobby shop. Make one of those MDF buildings into like some kind of hobby store.
I like that. That's really good.
I think
make it Hobby Lobby in Arabish.
Has these issues that Evan is having with feeling duped by a core set, just get Imperial Assault. Of all these miniatures games, Imperial Assault, you could just get that and never buy another thing from it, and you'd be fine.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
As long as you're okay with playing with tokens for some of your guys.
Yeah, but I mean,
but they don't keep you from having those games able to be played.
Yeah. No, I will say you are right there. There's the Imperial Assault core set probably has the most complete experience of any of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars games.
I mean, I would say it's like a 95% full experience because you're just missing physical figures for Han and Chewbacca and some other figures like that, IG-88, that if they show up in your campaign, you have to proxy with the tokens that they give you. Like, you could live with that and you don't feel like you need more like the other ones. All the other expansions for Imperial Assault are actually expansions the way we remember them from before microtransactions. Like, it just gives you more content rather than, Legion and X-Wing. Okay, it's an expansion, but it's kind of required component for me to get this experience that I'm looking for. Imperial Assault isn't really like that. So everyone should just go buy that. Forget about all the other stuff.
And it really is. Like, there is very little to complain about with Imperial Assault. And I just recently got Descent. And of course, they are very close to each other. I can definitely see a lot of areas where they kind of up the game with Imperial Assault. But they do also have some of that where the box gives you almost 100% of all miniatures that you would want for all of the adventures, and there's like six of the main villains that you have to go out and buy to add to your game. And that's really it. I mean, you have a whole game. And then IA has the PvP mode, the skirmish, which, sure, at the time was very unpolished, but it's hard to argue with the value in that box. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're discussing in patron chat right now with Christian when Board and Base podcast, which was Zach, Christian, me, and several of our other friends, many of whom are on Encounter Time, we played X-Wing and LCG in that fall-winter period when they had just come out, and none of us really dug it, even though between the three of us, we had enough ships to field full squads. We were either getting a lot wrong and not enjoying it, or it just failed to grab us. So it could have simply been a matter of that game didn't sink its claws into us, and looking back, comparing it to all of the other miniatures game boxes that I've purchased and looked at since then, it looks weird to me. And I think it does still stand out as an odd duck in all of the other miniatures games out there. And it is a very different game compared to things like Legion or 40K or Rune Wars. But I don't know, I could be making a mountain out of a molehill here. That something needs to change with the entry point for X-Wing.
I feel like you must have, like, I've heard people who were like, okay, I prefer to play Armada, or I'll pick this game over X-Wing, but I've never heard anyone like just say they didn't like it, or like they didn't get it. They didn't
Well,
get
you
it.
have now, buddy.
Of all the places to hear it on the gaming podcast.
Well, and I guess I wanted to like it, but and Christian says that we never really got maneuvering down very well. The piloting, the flying of the ships was always very difficult for all of us to work with, because we didn't practice a ton. Because we're not competitive.
That's the thing, though. I mean, that's one of those things that just comes with playing it more. I mean, and really, I think that is kind of a thing that, there's lots of games with mechanics that you don't get until you've played it a bunch. There's this board game called Zolkin, which is like this Mayan-themed worker placement board game, right? But on the board where you're placing your workers is like these gears that turn around as the game progresses. And so it's sort of like this weird like Mayan calendar theme sort of thing. But the thing is like you need to figure out where these gears are going to be placed, going to have certain stuff later on as they're spinning around the board. And it's like one of those things where the first few times you play it, you do horrible at the game because your brain just doesn't quite understand how this mechanic works. But after you've played it a bunch, it starts to become a really interesting aspect of the game. So I don't know.
Do nothing for you, son.
I suppose, that's really it. It's just like it just didn't do it for me is the long and short of it.
I think we need to have a GoFundMe. We're going to raise money for Leo and I to cover living costs so we can go live with Evan for a month. And we're going to film us like force feeding X-Wing to him. We're going to just be like, all right, wake up at 7 a.m., time to play X-Wing. And then we'll do that for a month. And if at the end of that month you still aren't into it.
I think more likely it would be me waking up at 7 a.m. trying to wake you two up like, hey, I'm supposed to play some X-Wing now or what? I've got coffee going.
I'm calling the couch right now. Joe, you get the floor at Evans. So
we can pull out the futon and you two can share. There's plenty of room.
We could, but we won't.
JodoCast Flight School. This is a great name. This is happening.
Is as the name
yeah,
of
Leo
it?
and I can wear aviators and like,
Oh no!
other
You're gonna
top
take me
end
to boot
regalia.
camp? No, no.
You said
Once
it was flight
enough.
school. No, flight school. You're going somewhere else.
Okay, so it'll be more like Top Gun.
Okay,
Great.
Right.
I was gonna
yeah.
say I was just gonna say okay. I'm Jester, and
We'll have a shirtless volleyball scene like halfway through.
I'm Michael Ironsides, and Joe is Tom Skerritt.
Great. This gets better all the time.
So are you Iceman? Are you Maverick? Who are you gonna be, Evan?
You see, I'm realistic about these
Are you
things.
Wizard?
I'm probably Goose. Let's be honest here. Cat, I do not need any lip from you right now.
Cat's like, yeah, you'd be Goose.
He's like, I'm gonna goose you later.
What are you doing with your cat, man?
I don't know. That's why I lock my door at night. So anyways, yes. Yes, I'm weird. I am in certainly the minority. I guess our whole gaming group, our regular, D&D group / every other game we play together group, all the folks that were on my Destiny stream, we all need a little X-Wing crammed down our throats, apparently. Because we just didn't get it. And I had certainly played with other folks than those folks, and I won a few games here and there against people who had played way more than I had. I certainly have some tally marks on my ships. Can't remember who it was. If it was my, I think it was my Moldy Crow, disabled somebody's decimator, and then Poe or Wedge or someone like that got a 1-hit kill.
Them.
Yeah, I did. And they just kind of cried their way through that whole game, and I'm just like, well, it'll be another year and a half before I play again, so I'm going to enjoy this. In fact, that group, Christian, Zach, and I, went to the very first tournament that they had when Wave 2 was late, and they were like, go to this tournament, and we'll give away the few Wave 2 ships that we have. And that was it for all three of us. We went in there together, sharing ships, sharing dice and everything, and that was the last one we ever did. I think
was that when they did the Kessel Run event or whatever.
I do think that was it.
Oh yeah, that was Wave 2. I think Wave 3 or something was Assault at Imdar Alpha, which was a much less catchy name.
Those were cool events,
right? Yeah, where
it gave you a chance to win ships before, even though it also kind of annoyed me because, and at least here in Fargo, the guys who won them just turned around and put them on eBay right away because they were like, I can make a whole bunch of money.
I won a ship from one of those events. And
some of the
oh,
guys,
cool.
I think you know the ones I'm talking about.
I think I won a TIE Phantom from one of those events.
Well, but yes, if I could get people to play, if we had the opportunity, I'd be all for it. And I wish that I had a cheaper way to get into Wave 2. I guess that's kind of what brought me around to this, is that I feel comfortable buying packs, expansions, and whole new games for different systems than I do for paying another $140 for the ability to play the ships that I already have. And I could play version 1.
Well, I mean,
that's fine.
I was just going to say, it's not.
No one's taking that experience away from me. I understand that. I'm not one of those guys that's like, they stopped printing books for 3rd edition. They're trying to come into my home and take my books away. Obama's not going to take my 3rd edition books away. It's not like that at all. I understand that. But I would love to be able to play 2nd edition because that seems like arguably a better game. Maybe ellipsis question mark. Am I off the mark there? Is it?
It's a very similar game. I guess.
I mean,
It
it's
doesn't-
definitely better, but if the core aspects of X-Wing was what wasn't getting you, then
Yeah, you're
that's
still
not
not going to
change.
like it. I mean, it's still the same game with minor tweaks. It's sort of like when you read like patch notes for a video game,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, they're like, we bumped up the damage of the maser laser from 10 DPS to 12 DPS. I mean, for somebody who plays the game a lot, they're going to notice that difference. Someone coming in just who's been like, oh, I played this game a couple years ago, I'm going to fire it up again. They're not going to notice. It's going to still feel like the same thing to them. And I feel like that's sort of how the jump from first to second edition is with X-Wing. I mean, it's the changes are more significant than the exact example I gave there, but
Sure.
you get the idea.
Yeah. So if I wasn't crazy about first edition, if I went all in on second edition, I wouldn't have my mind changed unless I kept at it, unless I made a concerted effort to put the time in.
Yeah, I think your initial impressions you had from first edition, you're still going to have those same impressions when if you sit down and play a few games of second edition. So, I mean, I don't think, you might be expressing frustration, but I don't think you not being able to buy into the game is necessarily a bad thing, because I think in the end, you might just end up feeling the same way. You'll buy the stuff, and then it's, after a few games, you're going to just put it away and it's going to sit on your shelf.
Yeah, I think you may have found, you of all people have found the silver lining of my frustration. So let me flip this around on you really quick. Let me see how long we've been going. We've been going for a bit. So one last question for you then. Since we're going to turn it around and say, is there anything, if I wanted to start playing first edition with people, because I've got enough ships to certainly field different squads and everything.
Uh-huh.
If I was going to start pulling these out and play with people so we can get a good feel for it, are there any rules changes? Just not like physical bits changes, but rule changes that I could just implement from second into first to smooth things out or streamline things, anything like that. Like with D&D, 5th edition has advantage. You roll a d20 twice and take the best. I can port that into any previous d20 version. So something like that, some sort of just rule variance that I can take from second into first.
I mean,
the first one that comes to mind is spending an evade token doesn't add an extra evade result. It just changes one of your dice to an evade, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those differences that doesn't seem that significant if you don't play it a lot.
That actually seems significant to me because one of the things we ran into was that even if we rolled great on attacks, a lot of times the other guy would roll great on defense, and then we'd just be flying around each other, repeating that over and over again and not getting anywhere. So
see, I've heard you make that complaint before, and that just seems like
yeah, because that's one of the things
than my experience. No, I was going to say would be to implement, but it would be tough without having some kind of markers. But the way I think one of the more significant changes in second edition is they've changed the way turrets work on ships. In first edition, turrets are just automatic 360 firing arc all the time, right?
Right.
and it kind of eliminates the need for when you're flying those ships. You don't have to worry about maneuvering nearly as much. I mean, it's just sort of like, okay, I just have to make sure I don't run into some guy. You don't have to worry about positioning yourself to have a good shot or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You just putz around on the board and you always get to shoot at stuff. And it wasn't the best thing out
It was
there.
kind of easy mode. It made maneuvering not important, which is not good for a game about maneuvering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in second edition, you have like a little marker that you will put on your base that indicates which direction your turret is pointing at the time, and then you can change your turret's orientation as an action. Like instead of doing a focus or an evade or a target lock, you can change your turret's orientation. So you have to actually consciously be thinking about where you want your turret to be pointing, and it makes turrets less powerful, and
they're much trickier to use.
Yep, and also I think injects more skill back into the game that turrets had sort of taken out.
That sounds very interesting. I can get behind all of these. These sound like very interesting, well thought out changes that make it more interesting and not just, like you said, moving forward, you're in range, shoot from any direction. Very cool. And if you think of anything else after we finish recording, I am all for hearing it. I'm sure there are documents already out there where people have come up with ways, some conversions.
I thought you were going to tell the audience to let you know in the comments down below.
In the doobly-doo. Let us know in the doobly-doo what your suggestions would be for taking some first or second edition mechanics into first edition.
I wonder if a search for X-Wing 1.5 would yield you useful results, because I know people were doing that.
Are you saying you just did that?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't be wondering if I had just done that.
I thought you were being coy about it.
No, I'm being serious. That might,
okay. I got you.
Because I know people were trying to do that, and they were just making up points because nobody knew how many points anything was.
Sure. All right. Well, now that I've got my X-Wing tirade out of my system and my love for or appreciation for Legion, I think we're still at the friend stage. Me and Legion, we haven't. We're still on our second date, so we will see how the third date goes.
Yeah. After the third date, that's when I feel like we should do like the thing like they always do in like stereotypical movies where like the guy goes out on the date with the girl and then the next day all his buddies are like, so did you
play
slip of the tongue? And you're just like, shut up guys, not like that.
Yeah, so you let us know when you get to that point, Evan, and we'll
All right, yes, I will let you know how that goes. I am very much looking forward to it. It's a very intuitive game. I do enjoy it. It makes a lot of sense. I'm very inclined to buy more Legion. Like I said, to me, my dollar seems to go further.
Palpatine and Royal Guards come out next week.
Ugh, that's the...
Already?
Okay. If you wanted to ruin it for me, that's how you ruin it for me. Palpatine on any battlefield should never happen.
Well, maybe
see,
you
the
should
thing
stop
is
playing
like,
Battlefront. Oh, wait, you did.
He just needs to murder all the rebels, so there's no witnesses.
And the Imperials. I don't know if
he
just
can.
everybody.
Yeah, well, you know.
I mean, all he has to do is be like, all right, everybody, line up. Okay, real close. Okay, bzzz. That takes care of them.
Yeah, Christian said he wants Kylo and a squad of Praetorian guards. Yes, give me that. That's great. No Snoke, though. I don't want Snoke on the battlefield either. To heck with that.
Star Wars miniatures games did Palpatine the best. I mean, there must have been a bunch of different Palpatines and Darth Sidious's in that game, but one of them was just him sitting in his Death Star 2 chair, and he couldn't move. He just sat there, and it had some like commander effect.
I
will say that's one thing I would like to see in Legion that we probably won't, is some of the like goofier things that the WotC minis game had. You know, like the thing where you had like the hand in carbonite, and like, wasn't it something where like if you got him to like the other end of the battlefield, then you could set him free and put Han out?
You had to deploy it. Your opponent got to deploy it in their deployment zone. And then if at any point, to go
rescue him.
Yeah. And if at any point you took an action while adjacent to it, you could swap it out with a Han figure at half price. So it let you fit, a 100-point Han in your team for 50 points, but you had to work to go get him.
Yeah, and then there was like all the different Force ghosts that like couldn't actually like fight, but they just kind of just had like these. They just sort of like would float around and haunt the enemy army,
or like provide positive buffs. And there's like a Veers hologram that just gives offensive buffs to like troopers, but like if they get too far away from it, it just disappears. I
also like the fact that if you had the like snowspeeder pilot Luke, it had an ability that specifically with the detonator where you had a chance to one-shot the AT-AT mini. Yep. But that ability only came into play if your opponent was playing the AT-AT.
Oh, no, it was any mounted weapon.
Oh, was
which
it?
Included the AT. So you could do it to a walker or like a turret or something. But you had to like, I forget what you had to roll. It was like a 15 or better on a D20 or something.
Yeah, I remember the time you tried to do it to me, and then you failed, and then I stepped on you.
That would be some neat stuff. Maybe as they get more into some narrative directed play, that would be very cool to have.
Yeah, I think those things are more likely to show up in Imperial Assault. I mean, we've already got 000 and BT. Like, I think it's easier to maybe be putting stuff like that into Imperial Assault than Legion.
That seems like a better fit, for sure.
Imperial Assault has more kind of heart, I feel like.
All right. Well, like I said, now that I've gotten that out of my system, I feel better. Thanks for putting up with me. And I do feel some renewed interest to get my X-Wings out. I still have them packed in the tackle box, ready to go. So I just got to grab my my mat, and after some Legion, though. I am very excited to play that. I said that enough times. I think that's going to do it. Unless y'all have any other tidbits to add onto to shame me into playing more X-Wing.
All the cool kids do it.
I knew that was coming. I just knew it.
If we were chatting on Discord, I would see. I've come to the point where I communicate
you just revert to GIFs. That's right.
Too often, because in my head I'm all like Game of Thrones shamebell.gif at you.
Oh, thanks.
Which I can't do.
I mean, we all like. I think it works. I think we can make this the only podcast featuring live GIFs.
Well, GIFs. No. So what you're saying is that we need to just start doing this live streaming, and that you can just change your camera to your screen, and it will be the GIF.
No, I'm just saying
That's
we can
what
just
Leo is saying.
speak the file name out.
Speak the file name? Great.
Yeah, like if I say dead dove JPG, we all know what's up.
Say what?
Deaddove.jpg? That's a popular one?
No.
Oh, I guess not.
Sure. Sure.
All of
I
our
don't know
listeners
what-
are on board, though.
I don't know what you're talking
It's
about.
all the kids. It's all the rage of the kids these days. That and Fortnite.
Probably.
He's doing the
Probably-
Fortnite dance right now. We just can't see it.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need to... you said your son's not into Fortnite, which is...
No.
Sounds like a blessing, but we need
Yeah,
somebody...
he's competing with me in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Like every time I make an accomplishment in the game, like he gets like mildly upset that he hasn't done it yet. Like I'm all like, I just got the Master Sword the other night, and he's all like, how? And then he has to go. Then he will come home from school, like, and it's a blessing and a curse because like he's playing it nonstop lately. But it is awesome because. Like, normally, I pretty much have to drag this kid's ass out of bed every morning for school. But since he's really gotten into Breath of the Wild, he gets up like a half hour before the alarm goes off. So he has more Breath of the Wild playing time in the morning before school.
Wow. You've raised him well. Congratulations. Okay, so for real, I think we're done. I think we've exhausted any semblance of intelligence at this point. So thanks to both of you for being here and putting up with my ludicrous statements about X-Wing. Thank you to all the listeners. Wherever you listen, please leave us a comment, rating, or review. Thank you, patrons, for making this happen. Thank you for making Extra Life happen. We could not have done it without you. And if I'm not too mistaken, Joe has a super secret word, so you can win what? Take it away.
Okay, so if you were paying any sort of attention before, during, or after our Extra Life stream, the painting contest, we each painted a unit of Rebel Troopers, and they're all painted very... Because one challenge was paint with your non-dominant hand, one was paint grayscale, one was paint with an oversized brush, one was paint with only the color and shades of that color that you are assigned, and one was paint the best you can do in 30 minutes. And these were all 30 or an hour paint jobs. That could be yours. We're giving them away because they are delightful, and you're going to put them on the table and people are going to be like, whoa, who painted that? That's awesome.
That's what they'll say.
Or they'll be more like, who painted that?
You might have to be like...
That's when they call the judge over. Like, judge, yeah, I'm not sure this is legal.
Oh, they're not that bad. They're not ATST-chan. Which has grown on me. I've played against it a few times.
She's quite the lady.
Oh, no.
She could be your Legion waifu, Evan.
Oh, no, thank you.
But if you want to win these, or have a chance to, or if you want this in your life, this is how you do it. You have to go to our Discord. There is an invite link on our website, which is jodocast.com. You click on that, you go there. We have a channel specifically dedicated to all of our mini painting and crafting. If you paint, it doesn't even have to be Star Wars. You paint Warhammer, you can share it in there, and we all go, ooh, and we tell you how good of a job you did. It's fun. You go to the painting and crafting channel, and you... I totally forgot that I was supposed to have come up with the criteria by now. So do we want to do a code phrase or maybe a code, maybe like post a Bob Ross GIF or something?
No, what does Bob Ross have to do with peanut butter? No one's gonna know what a Bob Ross GIF is.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Code phrase. Code phrase. Go with code phrase.
I know what I want to suggest, but people would make too many mistakes probably.
That one that we've done in the past?
Yes, that
one.
one.
I don't remember what it is. Is that weird?
The Dart Maker's out of luck with frequently iced manifolds.
Yeah,
obviously.
we've used that one in the past.
How can you forget that?
How can you?
Because, see, it has to be something that's not so obvious, because then people who
Paint
aren't
Squad.
in on this... Paint Squad?
Paint Squad.
Yeah, I like it. Paint Squad, exclamation point. And, yeah, that's enough. So if you drop into the painting and crafting channel on our Discord server and say Paint Squad, exclamation point, that's all you need to enter to win one of our... And there's 3 of them. We got 3 of these to give out. So do that.
Yeah, we'll be contacting you via Discord too. So probably don't just come in, yell that, and then leave the server.
Right, yeah. And if you're the only one, you're still only getting 1. You don't get all 3 of these.
Are we going to say Paint Squad 1 word, Paint Squad 2 words?
2 words.
2 words, okay.
To the poor souls who aren't
caps.
listening to this, they might just think someone is enthusiastic about their Paint Squad.
And to answer one of our patrons, yes, if you happen to run into any of us in public, you're also allowed to just scream it at us in person as means of entry.
You're allowed, but you still have to go on the Discord because
no.
It'll be my way of keeping track.
And you have to scream it too. You can't just say it. You can't just exclaim
there will be a
it.
decibel
You have
threshold.
to scream it. Yes. Yes.
I am going to enjoy seeing other people who aren't actively listening to this just going into painting and crafting and wondering why people are screaming Paint Squad into the Discord.
You know, our bot's gonna get in on this too, because that one bot is if 3 people send the same message 3 times in a row, then it starts repeating them. The bot's gonna be yelling Paint Squad all the time too.
See, the beauty of Paint Squad is, people might not know what's up, and they might conversation might carry on, and it'll fade into the background, and you'll secure your entry in the contest without tipping off people who don't know what's up and worsening your odds.
Oh, this is going to go well. It always goes well. It's going to be great. All right, so there we go. Again, that's for one of 3 mostly painted Legion Rebel Trooper squads. And with that, we'll certainly give some time because it's going to be a bit... if you're listening live, you get this. If you're friends with people, you'll know what's going on. It's going to be a little bit before I get this out. So today is the 14th of November. So,
not December.
Not December. No, not December. Not December. That I know. You're the only person and Zach who are the only ones who get that. So let's pick a date that we will cut this off. Thanksgiving.
How about just
a week
that's
a
after
little
this
fast.
episode comes out?
Sure, week after this episode gets out. So mark your calendars as such. There you go. Okay. I think that's finally it. Have a good night, everybody. Man, this seems like I should have like a "May all your rolls be 6s" or some garbage like that, but
I always roll a d20.
What game are we rolling 6s in?
I don't even know.
None of these games that we play and talk about and actively promote on this podcast feature dice with numbers.
That's true.
Except Imperial Assault, and the only numbers on those dice go up to 5.
May all your triumphs be criticals.
No, me.
Meh. Okay.
How about don't f- it up?